For today's video, I will be repairing this 18th century Japanese wooden bench. So the only real serious damage was the large crack that is on the top right here. It wasn't too severe. I was able to repair it from the top side with a piece of wood, as you'll see. And the two back legs had some dry rot in the bottom, which I had to fill with Bondo and match the existing profile of the leg. I started first by sanding all of the existing old finish off, which was very thin. There was no existing lacquer or varnish on top of it. It was just a stain of some kind. It was, as I discovered, refinished prior and repaired. And all I did was sand off a portion, and then I used some of my color samples as well as my color catalog to pick a close match for the new stain. After I began sanding it, I found a Japanese character on the bottom of the leg. I don't know what it means, if it's a name or a signature, but if you have any information about it, let me know down in the comments. After I continued sanding, I started to repair the top where it cracked. I had to add a small strip of wood to the bottom side because there was no supporting edge for the wood where it cracked, and all I did was glue a little strip on the bottom, and that surface then attached to the edge of the glue joint on the top. And then I just clamped it together to compress it back into place and let it dry. There's no support on this middle piece. This was fastened to this exterior piece with just that glue joint. This side didn't separate too much. This side stayed pretty tight, and it still held, but I'm still reinforcing it. But this side is the side where it visibly broke, and you can see daylight through it. I mean, it's clearly broken all the way through. So to reinforce it, you can see here where it's separating, it's completely loose. There's nothing supporting it on the underside. That's why I'm adding that strip. After I glued the supports to the underside to reinforce the top, I then sanded off all the existing finish to then get it prepped to add the wood filler. I had to apply roughly 3 coats of the wood filler to fill in the large holes and gaps in the bottom of the legs that were heavily dry rotted. After I got about 3 coats on, I then did a rough sanding to get to the rough shape of the leg, and then I did 1 final coat to fill in any small holes. After I finished doing the Bondo, I then started on cutting the slits of wood to fill in the gap. What I did was I cut it to a rough thickness, and then I used a hand plane to adjust it because it was not a uniform thickness throughout. I then carefully cleaned out the crevice where it was cracked, and then after it was planed to a good thickness, I then lightly tapped it in and then trimmed it down flush with my same hand plane. And I did it in 3 pieces just to make it a little bit easier to install. If you're enjoying this video so far, please like and subscribe to my page, and you can visit my shop to help support me. Thank you, and continue to enjoy this little montage. Here's a better view of the infill I was just doing. Now, I don't know what this is. I'm assuming this is old filler. This was definitely repaired at one point. You can see that this wood is a slightly different color. And you can see right here, there's a break in that wood right there. So at one point, this end was repaired. I don't know how many times this has been refinished, but all I did was, I'm not too concerned about the small gaps like this. This one was really big. This was just over an 1/8 inch. So what I did is I just tapered that piece to just lightly tap it in and then glue it in place to fill in that gap the whole way down. After it was mostly sanded, I then used a good, nice, sharp blade and a new scraper to get rid of all of the existing finish and varnish buildup in all of the corners and crevices. Fully sanded. You can see the tenons and the wedges clearly now that everything's sanded. So you got 10 here and a wedge and a wedge. Everything is all mortised together. And I also fixed a part of this side too. I thought it was closed up, but it was actually just filled with a lot of crud. But this side was the one that was cracked all the way open. So that's now repaired. Everything has been scraped pretty thoroughly and ready for a fresh coat of finish. For the finish on this, I'm using a custom tint color by Minwax. This is called Cinder Brown. And this is a water-based finish that is going to be brushed on and then rubbed off with a rag. The finish only needs to be absorbed into the wood for about 2 minutes and then brushed off as soon as possible. This wood is very old and dry, so it was absorbing very quick, so I had to work pretty fast with wiping it off. After applying the stain, I then applied 2 coats of a high build urethane, and then once it was dry, I then lightly buffed the finish with steel wool. Here's some small glamour footage. Now this is still in rough shape. It's not restored, it's repaired. You can't really tell, but here is where that wood filler is. Right there. And then the 2 front legs that you can see here and here were the ones that were dry rotted. Now they're all evenly shaped and it's flat. No more rocking. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you follow the link down below in the description, you can visit my shop to help support my page. Thanks.